Hey everybody, this is Dominic D'Angelo. I'm of several outlets. Won't run them down like I did last week, but I am here on Premier Streaming Network. But if you're listening on podcast, I'm on whatever podcast feed you choose to listen on. But I am here. It is episode two of One of a Kind with none other than Mr. RVD, Rob Van Dam. Rob, episode 2. Thanks for joining me, man.
Right on, dude. Woohoo, we made it.
We made it. So we're over, I think, a week away from when we last recorded. How do you kind of feel about everything? Just like kind of coming off it. I know we actually, if you guys are listening to this now, you wouldn't be, but we have not debuted yet. So
yeah, so I haven't, I mean, I was looking forward to doing this again because it was, easy, fun doing it last week, and I figured it's something that the more we do, we can build on it, tweak it, personalize it, see exactly what it is, and then get the fans hopefully feedback on their thoughts as well. But I haven't had a chance to see it. So I was just asking you, I hope my audio sounds good. And I was asking because that's something that the fans sometimes will have a list of critiques, and some of them probably are really important. And then, and then some of them, if they're like, well, you need more purple in the background, then
what the fuck? Yeah.
That's a hard sell for me that's holding us back. So
right. We can only do so much here. All right. It's like we can't please everybody.
Yeah, looking forward to it though. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So what's been new with you over the course of this past week? Anything happening in the world of RVD? What's cracking?
No, I don't think I haven't gone on a trip. I'm in town for a minute, but things keep coming in. I think I might have mentioned last week, April was just so busy.
Yeah.
I was all over the place, and you knew because I told you in Pittsburgh because you saw me on the run.
Yep, sure did.
So with May, I'm looking forward to being home more, but that never really happens though, and so stuff always just comes my way. I don't know if I mentioned this before. I probably did, but all I do is sort through offers and options that come my way. That's all I've done forever, and I can tell a lot of times if it's worth responding to or not, or sometimes it is worth responding to, and I just am not organized enough to do it, so a lot of stuff slips through I guess my fingers, but I don't really care, or else I'd squeeze it more. You know what I mean? It's like if I wanted to work more, I would. I actually want to work less. That's a great negotiating position to be in. But anyway, having spit all that out, so here I am in May, and filling up my calendar again. I think the next fan convention that I'm doing is in Baltimore on May 21st. And then I had something else I had to cancel because I got a few dates to put on my calendar. I feel like we talked about this last week. I don't know, but I feel like, did we talk about that, about how comparing stand-up comedy and acting to wrestling, where I was like, anyway, like an actor at heart, they're going to learn their parts, the very first day they get the script and know everything and be prepared. And I'm so opposite. And, eventually after studying life for so long, instead of just being my own critic and beating myself up over it, I decided, well, let's list my priorities. If it was as important as wrestling, was that, I would have done anything to be a pro wrestler. And with comedy, last time I did a comedy set at a bar, it was I just wanted to jump up there when I wasn't advertised or whatever. And I was just like, hey, who's got a show tonight? I want to go up and hit this material that's in my head. And anyway, afterwards, I was like, I don't want to do bars anymore. It was there was 10 people there, and half of them were speaking to each other in their own conversations. And then afterwards, one of the local guys comes over to me and he's trying to give me tips. And it's like, dude, you want this enough to want to master a bar crowd of 10. I don't,
Yes.
Me, that's what I was thinking, and it made me realize that more inside and set my own standards. For me, that it's about my delivery and it's not, but with wrestling, yeah, I wanted to be able to master a crowd of 10 when I started out or whatever. So I look at it that way. And anyway, I got to learn this part for this, be as prepared as I can, and we start next week. So we'll try and record this earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. It's cool that you kind of say that too, because I have a buddy in like Pittsburgh. It's not a big huge comedy scene or nothing like that. They had like loose open mics, and like what you were saying, it's like crowd of 10, people are talking, there's food involved. Half the people really kind of don't give a shit. They're either there to play, they play music, or they do comedy. So it's like a crapshoot of people, and you're just like, oh my God. And like, will they get the humor? Do they even care? And it's like you have to find that balance of like, all right, I'm probably not going to get a reaction I really want. And on top of that, it's like, am I going to do well at in the execution of how it is all? And am I going to get the honest response that I'm kind of looking for? It's all that kind of shit coming into play where it's like, man, do you think with a bigger crowd, say anything like that, a good venue, comedy wise and everything like that, would you be like apt to just go up there and do a little bit of stand up and anything like that? Would that kind of motivate you a little bit more? Say if you had a good venue, like for comedy and stuff.
Comedy club, a theater.
Yeah, something like that that's pretty well packed, and you could do a set that's like, say like 20 minutes or something, that you're on stage with, somebody else is either following you or you're following them or something like that. Is that something you think you could kind of do more so or feel more?
Oh, no, I do that sometimes. I mean, I enjoy doing that. It's not something that I'm trying to do anything with. And that's a lot of basic thinkers have a hard time with that. So when they think about it, they're just like, so how's the comedy working for you? Stick with it, and I think you'll go whatever. For me, it's just, like I get once in a while I get an urge to do it, and I also get booking offers for that. But it's like, my time is worth so much more now than it ever has been, and it's always been increasingly so. It seems, So like I mean, so it's like with the busier I get, it's like that has to equate. It equates to money, and it's like to do. I've done a few stand-up tours, and it was because Tom Garland, who managed him, he would put several shows together, 6, 7, 8, whatever shows. And then if I'm making so much a night, it can add up, by the end of the tour, made it worth my while. But even those, I'm beyond that now. That was like going back to indie times, being on the road, traveling from town to town and stuff. But I was used to it because it was fun. But yeah, here in Las Vegas, there's the LA Comedy Club, which I actually have their shirt on right now. Actually, yeah, Synchronicity.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And I go there every once in a while. I just text the dude and say, hey, you got 20, whatever, how many minutes this week sometime, and they'll say, how about Sunday at 8:00? Boom, I'll be there. And that's cool because when I do that, it's a real comedy crowd, they're there to laugh.
Yeah.
And they're not a wrestling fan crowd, but most of them know RVD anyway. But if it is where I'm headlining, then it's a bunch of wrestling fans, and a lot of them, the comedy won't translate because they want to hear stories of wrestling maybe, and other wrestlers do that. I understand, like Mick Foley and Jake Roberts, Piper. I've seen him do it at the comedy club in LA, where they go up there and tell wrestling stories. And since that's not what I do, some of it won't translate as all. But if I'm in a position like you're talking about, where there isn't a lot of people there, and I'm going out there anyway, I talk about being committed on my RVDology. When I'm committed, I'll go out there, and like you were just saying, that you might wonder, am I gonna do good tonight? Am I gonna get the reaction? Those are two different things. At least that's what my ego would tell me. So I'll be my own judge. So I'll say, regardless of these people, I want to go out there and do this for me, test myself, see how good I do 45 minutes, see how much I remember, see what I could improve on or whatever, and go out there and just do it. And I know that they could have, sometimes it feels like they could have been looking at a wall, but but that's part of like in my movie Headstrong, you know, that was like part of that, you know. Mostly now my standards are higher, so now I just like to go and at comedy clubs. But there's never no telling when something will come along. You know, somebody tried to book me and Mick Foley in Florida for June, going back to back, but the guy was a little shady, so that didn't work out. Um, but you never know, and of course the wrestling fans are there to support you no matter what.
Right, 100%.
By the way, just like with everything else, you can look at my playlist of my stand-up comedy on my YouTube page, and it's all right there. So, because a lot of people be like, "Man, I want to see your set." It's not a set. I go up and I change it, you know, every time. Now, and I've been doing that for maybe the last couple of years. But anyway, it's all right there for you. There's no denying me.
That's right. RVDpod.com. You go to that, it'll hit you the YouTube channel, and you can check out RVD's stand-up stuff and all that. And he's got a whole lot of stuff, different things on there. Yeah, it's neat that you mentioned movies too, because I happened to watch Casino for the very first time, and holy shit! Like, I was always kind of like apprehensive because, like, 3 hours, that's a lot of time to put into. But
that's with commercials, right? You watched the commercial version?
No, that's no commercials.
Is it 3 hours? My favorite movie, and I never knew that. Wow.
It is 3 hours. And so it was great. I loved it. Like, you know, going into it, I'm like curious. I saw James Wood's name on there. I was like, oh, he's got to be like a casino suit or something like that. Not that whatsoever. Completely the polar opposite of what you were thinking James Wood was playing that. But I loved it. There's so many, like, what were some standout moments in that movie for you that made you like it so much?
Oh my God. Well, okay. So for anyone that maybe hasn't seen it, you know, Scorcese is known for doing classic mobster movies. The trilogy, I'll call it, because there's Goodfellas and then there's this Casino. They're very much alike, same actors. And then also The Irishman, which was a movie taken off of the book by Charles Brandt. Great rendition of the book, and again, same actors. Very long movie, and all of that, you know, was based on nonfiction books. So I've always said Casino, and I'm glad you took my recommendation and watched it. I've always said that is like the West Coast version of Goodfellas. That's how I see it, and I've always been a mark for the West Coast. So that's probably, and of course Vegas. You know, like I'm a history buff. You know, as I've told you, and you're going to test me here.
We got a new segment coming up.
You know, it used to be Hollywood history. I was doing this movie, Wrong Side of Town, in 2009. We had a studio at the Sunset Gower Studios, and walking around the studio, seeing where they filmed everything. You know, that really lit something up inside of me. You know what I mean? I was like, whoa, they filmed Married with Children here, you know, and they filmed The Three Stooges right next door like years ago, and this and that. And Diagonal was like the first Hollywood theater, you know, anyway, everything. I got into Hollywood history, and then and a big part of that was mobster history. So, you know, Bugsy Siegel was there in Hollywood in the 30s, and then he went over to Las Vegas in the early 40s, and so did my interest, and so it became the whole mafia genre became my go-to hobby that fascinates me, because everything about nonfiction is really connected, you know, and that's what's so fascinating about it. Even though I read pretty much everything. So I read opposite versions, and I can't say that I know this is what happened because someone else said, no, I was there. That's not what happened. But I know the stories anyway, and they're fascinating. And it's a huge part of Las Vegas. You know, like they built this city of all the casinos on the Strip and everything. And that's a lot of that is what the movie Casino covers is, I mean, that starts the Tangiers is actually, amalgamation, is that the right word? Amalgamation.
Something to that effect. I know you're on the right track.
Of the Riviera, which was opened in 55, I believe, and the Stardust, which was already there. So that's what Tangiers is.
I was going to ask you, what that casino was based off.
Mostly Stardust. Also Riviera, which was across the street. They ran both of those. They ran the Hacienda and the Marina. And there was like the Chicago family did that. The Detroit family, ran, like the Tropicana, but then Kansas ran the casino out of Tropicana. And it was like Detroit also had the Aladdin. And before that was Tally Ho, I think it was called. A lot of the old ones aren't here anymore. The Sands and and the Frontier and a bunch of them. But anyway, it's a huge part. I mean, let me just tell you this fact. you saw the guy, because you probably don't know, but do you remember when De Niro's character, Sam Rothstein, they called him?
Yeah.
His real name was Lefty Rosenthal. I mean, like they changed the names in this one.
Mm-hmm.
But besides that, very little has changed according to the story of how it went down. But his character, you remember when he was in court? Do you remember the lawyer that represented him?
Yes, he kind of looked like Daniel Stern a little bit, just a little bit.
I don't know who that is.
That's the guy from Home Alone. He was one of the wet bandits. He's the other. Oh, ironically enough, the other guy from Joe Pesci kind of looked like him. I know who you're talking about.
He does. Now that you mention it, he does.
Right? Crazy.
He did. Yeah, he's still around. He's a lot older and a little heavier now. But anyway, that dude that played his lawyer is Oscar Goodman, and he was the real lawyer that represented all the mobsters. Tony Spilotro, who's Pesci's character, they call him Nicky.
Nicky Saturno or something like that. I think it is.
Nicky Santoro, they call him.
Santoro, that's
the real guy who was like the worst, well-known, most famous mobster, here in Vegas. But anyway, it was Tony Spilotro. And if you look up on YouTube Tony Spilotro and you see any footage of him, Oscar Goodman's almost always there with him. And he represented a lot of other guys, even Meyer Lansky, like way back in the day. So he's always been, and he always got his guys off. He was always a great lawyer, but he was never dirty, at least never caught dirty.
Yeah.
He helped build the mob museum that's downtown here in Las Vegas. He was our mayor. He was voted in as our mayor, and he ran the entire. I think it's an 8-year term, and then when his term ran out, his wife became mayor.
No shit.
Yeah, so they've been running Las Vegas for the last. I don't know if it's 16 years. I think it was. He was mayor in 2010. I'm pretty sure, and before that. So we could look up the exact years, but maybe 2008. Yeah, probably 16 years. And I think his wife might have either she's still mayor or she just handed over the reins. But that guy, he was just so good at arguing the facts and catching the cops being dirty and not following protocol. He got his guys off all the time. He had a great record.
How about that? Oh man, because you know what? I was watching the credits at the end, and sure enough, it said Oscar Goodman as himself, and I was like, "Who was that?" And I was like, "I remember hearing Oscar in the movie, but I was like, I couldn't pinpoint." But it's the lawyer, so that makes a lot of sense.
The other guy that's really interesting, Frank Collada, he was a mobster that he just died last year of COVID. He was still out here. He was giving tours of. He's represented in Casino. The guy Vincent, the guy with the silver hair, that's always like the buddy. Frank Vincent.
Yeah.
His character is based on Frank Collada. Frank Collada, when he flipped for the government and gave his story, that's a lot of what Casino came from. So he's on set counseling Martin Scorcese, and he appears to whack a few of the guys at the end. He whacks the guy in the parking lot at the end. That's the finance guy.
Yes. Yeah.
And he whacks the guy that comes out that's got a robe on and he's shot in the stomach. He comes out his back door by the pool.
Yeah,
he comes up to him and goes, "Where are you going, jack off?" Bam.
Yeah, that's right, jack off.
That guy that plays that killer, he's like reenacting like a murder that he committed.
Holy shit.
Yeah, but again, this murder is amalgam, or however you pronounce that.
Yeah, I know
it
that.
Represents two, like one that was in like Costa Rica and one that was here in Vegas. But I've been on this tour a couple times, and he's like, "Yeah, that's the house where I whacked that guy." And pretty fascinating.
You know what I found really cool? I don't know if you can make this connection with it too, but I've kind of found it like kind of neat in a little bit of a way, because like the mob, if you're living the mob life, it's humbling, and Scorsese like is great at highlighting those moments of like, oh my god, there's that moment of humanity, like where the fucking guy gets stabbed with the pen, several times, and like Pesci's like, oh, I hear a little girl crying. Is that a little girl?
Right. What happened to the tough guy?
Yeah, what happened to the tough guy, huh? Not so tough no more. And then like what you're saying, like the jag off and like him walking out with the stuff. It's like humbling experiences and stuff like that. And I was like, I've been reading Muhammad Ali's biography and certain things like that, and him having like nerves before he gets into the fights and stuff. But then there's always that aspect of like whether you're in sports or something like the mafia, it's like those moments of humanity that really like kind of, I don't know. And that's what I think Scorsese's great at. And I kind of made that connection with wrestling in certain ways too, because you don't know what's going to happen sometimes when you're in the ring and everything. And so you always put yourself at risk in doing that kind of thing. So I thought that was kind of a neat connection. And Scorsese's just so great at showing that violence and making you be like, holy fuck, what would I do in that situation? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's their guy. He's bringing us into their world. This is just what they do. And it's so true, you know?
Yeah.
They're like, sometimes like I was conflicted about taking the mob tour because I felt like I'm fascinated by it, but I don't look up to these guys, and I'm like heroes, you know what I mean? And so for a while I didn't want to hinder profit, you know, and like be paying towards it, but I changed my mind and said, you know, for me it's worth it, and whatever, you know. And I did that a couple times, and then also Michael Franzese was doing a stage show when I first moved here to town, you know, so I got to know him through going down there, and he's a really, really good guy, Michael Franzese. And man, he tells this, he tells a lot of stories. I mean, he was in the Colombo crime family and ripping off the gas station. Anyway, he made a lot of money, like between $3 and $10 million a week he was bringing in.
Holy shit.
Yeah, to the family. He said he kicked 50% up to Persico, and then he was making the rest of that for a while. But anyway, one of the stories that really sticks out in my mind that he tells, he said that he was dropping off one of his buddies, another mobster, at his house late at night, and he said that when they got there and the guy got out of the car, I can't remember his name right now, but the dude asked Michael, you know, if he would wait for a second. You know, he went in, opened up the door, and came back out and got in the car and said, you know, let's go. And he said, wait a minute, I thought I was dropping you off. And he said that he got the order to whack his own dad.
What?
And he killed his dad, and now he can't be in the house alone because whenever he's in the house alone, he sees his dad. How fucked up is that?
That's super fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah. Part of what's fascinating is that the guys, you know, when they're actually really in the family, I mean, there's the associates, and you're always an associate if you're not Italian, that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then you're not a true member of La Cosa Nostra. But the guys that actually take the pledge and then they become a made member, you know, they make that their number one priority, and they give this speech where they say, no matter what, hey, it's 4:40. I thought I said 4:20. Sorry.
That's right.
They give, you know, they swear a blood oath in front of everyone that they'll leave their wife in the hospital or on the deathbed or anything that's going on. You know, they'll do whatever the family says. They'll kill for the family when the time comes. And usually they've already done that by the time they're made anyway. That's one of the initiations usually. But it's a hell of a thing to swear your life to, you know. But then at the same time, that's what soldiers do to the army or whatever. They're like, yeah, I'm gonna, you know, I might get blown up, but I'm doing this for the greater good of what I believe in. It's very similar, and they are set up like the military and have been since like 1931 with Maranzano. He set up, you know, having the whole hierarchy of the boss and the consigliere and the underboss and the captains and then the soldiers. A lot of times Luciano gets credit for it, so who knows? But it's very military like, and it makes sense because when the best soldiers are guys that don't have an ego or their own values or beliefs or let any of that get in the way of just doing everything they can for the cause, right?
Right. Oh my God. And like, to your point, it's like Yeah, they take that blood oath, and it makes me think about that scene too, where Nicky takes that Irish gangster and fucking puts his head in a vice, and he doesn't crack. The dude does not crack. Like they ice picked his balls, they said, and all that shit, and he wouldn't break. And it's just like that's the life they chose and they live with. It's nuts.
Right? Yeah, yeah. If you want to look that up, it's called the M&M murders. It's pretty easy to remember, but Joey Maragula and Joey McCarthy, two dudes, they shot up. It happened in Chicago. They shot up the wrong bar that was connected, and then Tony Spilotro told Frank Collada that they think he's involved too, and if he doesn't help them set them up, they're going to come and whack him. And so he let the one dude borrow his car and set them up. That's the thing too. They set their friends up like so easy. It's crazy. Like guys that they grew up with, and then they'll just be like, yeah, let's go for a ride. And if they're in the back seat, there's a good chance you might be shot in the back of your head if you're in that life. It's so crazy to think. It's so opposite of my life. That's one of the reasons I'm fascinated with it. If I ran over a squirrel with my car, I would pull over if I knew that happened, and it would ruin my whole day.
Right, the day would be done.
Oh, that'd be so sad. And for these guys, and there's some that are particularly violent. Mad Sam DiStefano, in Chicago, which he actually was Tony Spilotro's mentor. So. So yeah, he got a lot of his sadistic ways from him. Yeah, that scene in that Vice scene happened though when his eye popped out. He gave up his buddy, and of course they killed
Charlie
him.
M. Why the fuck would you rat out Charlie M for that? Why would you wait for Charlie M? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So the new set. This is a good segue into the new segment here.
Cool.
It's gonna be. We got it here. I have it. I called it "Guess the Gangster" for One of a Kind here with RVD. And so the way it is, guys, RVD, he knows his way around the mob and mafia, specifically with Italian, but Irish, some other stuff too. So what we'll do is I will put the mugshot up of a particular mobster. Rob will guess who it is, and likely he might know, and then I will give details to you later on after it. So,
well, for the record, I think there was going to be one was going to be a name. And then one was going to be a mugshot. And I was like, man, the mugshot's going to be difficult. Because
you think the mugshot's going to be difficult? Well, what I'll do, so I have some notes here. So what I'll do is I'll put the mugshot up. And if you can't kind of know who it is,
clues,
then I'll give you a little bit of clues going on from it. So
in general, I'm so non-observant. Like whenever I watch America's Most Wanted or something, I watch a lot of crime shows. I'm always blown away they can catch somebody from a sketch. I'm like, what the fuck?
Right. I'd be awful with that.
You could show me a photo of the guy, and if I see him, if I go into 7-Eleven 2 minutes later and he walks by me, I'm probably not going to know that was him. I'm not that good at it. And I purposely don't meet a lot of people in their eyes, and I look down at the ground a lot. And that's, I think, just because, I don't know, it's a passive way to be. And also it's because I'm recognized a lot. And it's like, it's like, like if you're a strip club, you don't look the strippers in the eye or else they're going to come over and say, hey, you looking for a dance? So when they go by, you kind of look at the ground, let her go. She's walking by. Did she pass? Like I do that. I got to do that with people in general. And a lot of times people hit me on the shoulder and say, hey, and I'll look up. It'll be like one of my friends. Oh, sorry. And they go, no, I get it. But so mugshots are really hard, and I'm always surprised, like how the fuck, even if it's a mugshot and not a drawing, a lot of times, and it's 30 years later, or it's a futuristic enhanced drawing, I'm like, how in the fuck? Right. I don't know what they're looking at. They ain't seeing what I'm seeing. But
Rob, I could see somebody like 3 times, like in person. And if somebody walks in later on, like say a couple days later, I would still have to triple take and see, like, is that the person I just met? I'm like that a lot of times. So.
Well, with something in our world of meet and greets, we try not to say nice to meet you unless we're positive. Otherwise, it's better to say nice to see you.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like, oh, hey, Heather, hey, nice to meet you. We've met 3 times. Like, oh, I mean, great to see you.
Great to see you.
Yeah, and great to see you works the first time too. So that's a safer bet.
That's definitely the way to handle it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see if you can guess this person just based off the mugshot. You got two, so take a look at them.
And I'm getting a doobie ready. This is something that I think is going to be an important part of the show because some of my fans smoke and some don't. Either way, I'm going to spark one up. And so if you want to spark up one with me, it might enlighten you. We're going to talk some RVDology. And if you don't smoke, that's not a requirement. You know, if you're a basic thinker, you won't get it, but maybe you will. Maybe I can help you out because I believe that a lot of basic thinking is, I don't want to say choice, but like an unacknowledged choice. In other words, like you don't know you have the choice, but you really can choose. So I believe that, not with everybody, but I believe a lot of people are helpful because a lot of people will listen to my episodes and say, you know, I never thought about that before. You're right. Or they'll say, you know, ever since I watched that, every time this happens, boom, that's what I want. You know. So anyway, preparing a doobie to enlighten you motherfuckers
up. Enlighten us up. It'll be happening at the end of the show here, and Rob will give his perspective. Last week was values. It was really great. So
I'm ready for this fucking mugshot, dude.
Let's see it here. All right, you ready? Here it is.
Man,
Guess this gangster, Rob.
Ooh, this is the same guy?
The same guy. Now I can give you some clues here.
No, all right, wait, hold on. No, I think that. Oh man, I think he's from. Is he? Let me guess. Is he Rhode Island?
He's in the Northeast. You're close. You're
Massachusetts.
Close. Yes. Well,
right. Is it Mancuso, not the pizza man?
Nope.
The cheese man? No. Oh man, this is a tough one. It's so modern.
So he is a soldier from the Genovese crime family in New Jersey.
He definitely didn't start me out on first grade, which is cool. But man, this guy, let's see.
And he was also, so he killed a man, okay? He killed a man, and this individual was also part of the Genovese crime family in New Jersey, but also part of the Patriaccia family in New England.
That's okay. Hold on.
Okay.
So is it Fred Weiss?
Nope.
Fuck.
So he killed this man on Easter morning in 1977, and this person was not found out. He was on the lam for 11 years, and he finally got figured out too later on. He was found in Manhattan in 2007. This guy, and he was arrested. Do you want me to give you some names here?
Sure.
Okay, the guy he murdered was Johnny Coca-Cola Lardiere. He was a mob associate with reputed ties from both the Genovese crime family and the Patriarcha family in New England. Johnny Coke was killed Easter morning in 1977. The murder investigation went cold until 1996, when an informant named Genovese soldier, this is the guy, Mikey Cigars Coppola as the killer. Coppola, yes, he went on the lam for 11 years after learning that feds wanted a DNA sample from him, hoping to match it to a hat left at the crime scene. He was found in Manhattan, of all places, in 2007, went on the lam in Manhattan, and subsequently had a DNA sample taken. The test was inconclusive, and the judge threw out the murder charges against him. So it's Mikey Cigars. Cigars. And
nice, that's a good one.
What a couple of combinations. Johnny Coca-Cola. I mean, those are some mob names right there.
Yeah.
Now, the funny thing is, I found this New York Post article about him, too, and I'll just pull this up. Hitman, wise guy, died like a man. A reputed Genovese capo on trial in 1977 for a mob hit once admitted he whacked a fellow wise guy and said the victim died like a man. A turncoat testified yesterday in Brooklyn federal court. Mikey Cigars Coppola told pals he didn't want to kill mob associate Johnny Coca-Cola, but had to his duty to the crime family. Former Lucchese hitman Thomas Riccardia said, "You got to do what you got to do, and sometimes you do it with tears in your eyes," Coppola said, now 63. He said he died like a man, allegedly saying he explained that he took 2 tries to kill Lardier in the parking lot of a Red Bull Inn in Somerset, New Jersey, because his gun jammed. The wounded Lardier looked at Coppola in the eyes and sneered, "What are you going to do now, tough guy?" And the accused killer whipped out a second gun and fired 4 more shots.
Oh,
Holy shit. Riccardi, who had admitted to participating in 11 murder conspiracies, also fingered reputed Genovese capo Tito Fiumara in orchestrating the murder. So that's some wild shit.
yeah, that is, yeah. The more today, and what's going on with today, the more you can trip me up, the more modern it is. But I still try to keep up with today. But with a lot of the other stuff, if it's been hashed out there, if it's been like out there a lot, then I probably hit it from several angles, from documentaries and books all the way around and stuff. But yeah, some of the current guys and stuff. It's fascinating that they're still going, that the families are still out there, even though they're not as powerful as they were. But that Tommy Ricciardi, there was a guy out here in California. I didn't think he was Genovese. I thought, but I wonder if that's the same guy, because he ended up. There was like a Gambino faction that Mike Rizzatello was starting in L.A. because the L.A. mafia was too. They call it the Mickey Mouse Mafia. They weren't doing anything, and so he came down and he had connections with Carlo Gambino. According to the story, Mike Rizzatello, he was starting his own faction, and I know Thomas Ricciardi was in that, so it might be a different guy with the same name, but they killed Frank Bompensiero, who's one of the more well-known West Coast mobsters as well. He ran San Diego, but you're not gonna remember any of that. But I get where like the further back you go in time, like you would have a gun to protect yourself. It's getting to be that way again now, but it's so unbelievable in between, because of our world, because we're brought up in this safe world, and we think, oh my God, how could you, take somebody's life? But if you go back to, I don't know, the Wild West, right? Early 1800s, 1600s, if you want to go back to way back, but that was just something, if you went out and you went to the local saloon, you were already taking a big risk, anything could happen to you. And
right.
It wasn't like you could call 911, so I get, it seems like a lot of the mobsters that are really well known from the movies and stories that have been passed around a lot of them have been around since forever. There was like 2 generations, like in the turn of the century, a bunch of them came over. And some of them were like still around till recently, and some of them were born like in the 30s or whatever, and they were still running shit until recently. So it's like, so I kind of get where they kept the same principles, because they kept to themselves in their own little secret society. But it's still like amazing to me that like, oh my God, this dude's a murderer, and he's out here living his life on the outside. But,
right, it's cool. What I was like, I looked on this stuff like Reddit and everything like that, and there's so many like recent mobsters, and I'm like, dude, this is crazy that like that shit's like still kind of happening, and to the lesser level of like not as big as it was, but it's still there. It's kind of mind blowing in a lot of ways, but yeah.
One thing that that's cool out here, Lake Mead is our water supply in Las Vegas, and some surrounding towns. And it is shrinking because of the climate, and so you can see the water dropping down on the side of the mountain, how it's dropped so many feet. And so now there's a lot more shoreline where it used to be covered, and these bodies have been showing up. And it's pretty interesting. The first one that they found was a body in a barrel that had a couple of 22s holes in the back of his head, and they labeled him as being from late 70s, early 80s, according to the shoes that he was wearing. And now I think they're up. I don't know if it's 5 or 8 bodies, and some of them drowned or whatever. But this one guy ends up like the most one of the guys that they really like, but they haven't confirmed that it's him, is one of the characters from Casino. Actually,
really,
yeah, because this guy ran the slot machine skim, at Circus, and
Oh.
and he disappeared like in it was either, I think it was like 60, somewhere between 68 and 72, somewhere in there he disappeared, and that was Tony Spilatro's reign. And at the end, when everyone's getting busted, actually before that Costa Rica killing, I told you that was a almogram. That's one of them is Vandersloot, this dude, and then and he ran the things, so they thought he's going to tell if they catch him. He knows too much, so they killed him. And this guy did the same thing at the Circus. But,
no shit. See, that's crazy too, because I remember in the movie too, like De Niro's bitching at the one guy about like, hey, you got to either be in on this game with the slots, and like, because there was like 3 slots winners in a row, massive ones, and he's like, what the fuck is this?
right.
Like, yeah. Oh man. No. Okay. Well, so if you were to give, say, a casual listener here, a big wrestling, say this listener is a big wrestling fan, doesn't know a whole lot about the mob world or anything like that, you got to give them a documentary to watch. What mob documentary are you gonna start them off with?
I guess I'd want to know where he lives.
Mm-hmm.
If you know.
All right, say Northeast. Say Northeast, kind of like New York, Philly area, something like that.
Man, there's so many. Maybe you can get Selwyn Robb's The 5 Families, and you can hear that audiobook actually on YouTube, and it talks about the whole birth of the mafia coming here and growing, and the 5 families in New York. That's one. But you know, one of the first ones this was a book. What's one of the first documentaries I remember? Because I remember when I was just getting into this, somebody, big dude, this guy's an actor, and he's in Ocean's 11, and he's in Wrong Side of Town. Big bald biker dude, Schwartz. What is his name?
The one with like Brad Pitt, or the other?
Yeah, that one. He's like, he beats him up. He goes in a safe, and this guy beats him up. He's my friend. Beats him up because he wants to look like he was in a fight and robbed or whatever. So beats Brad Pitt up.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I hate it when I blink on. I got a little bit of fuzzy brain this week. I've been bitching about that. It's Schwartz. Anyway, that's so funny. I forget both their names because it's the exact same. And there's little and big. Anyway, I don't even know what the fuck I was talking about now. He gave me this book, and it was Nicky Scarfo, he ran the Philadelphia mob for a little while. I think maybe that was my first or second. Maybe I was just reading something and talking to him about it. That was one of the first ones that like really drew me in. And then I read about Richard Kuklinski, the Iceman, which a lot of people that don't know that much about the mafia enjoy his documentaries. He's got a couple on HBO where he was interviewed from prison.
No shit.
He's a pretty scary guy. Yeah. He did a lot of contract murders. He also did a lot on his own too. And he's just such a cold-hearted, evil person. The Iceman is what those, if you look that up, that's what his nickname was. And that was because he had a guy, him and a partner they were killing people with cyanide, and his partner had an ice cream truck, and that was like a disguise. And he killed his partner and froze him. And then when they found the body, like years later or months, I don't remember if it was years or months. It was so long later that the body should have been decomposed, but it wasn't because he froze it.
He's the Iceman.
They called him the Iceman. Yeah,
he's the Iceman.
Yeah.
Well, shit. Well, there's a good leaping point for people. I will definitely, like, I lived in Philly, so Nicky Scarfo. I'm gonna that's.
Well, if you like Goodfellas, watch the making or the one of the documentaries on the real Goodfellas. You know?
Yeah, like Henry Hill and stuff like that, right?
Henry Hill, yeah. And also if you like The Sopranos, you know, there's a couple documentaries on the real family that was based on, the DeCavalcante family in New Jersey.
Oh.
One of them is called Made Men. One is DeCavalcante family. They were infiltrated by police, or undercover, agents. So they got a couple of good books out of those infiltrations into the families. But yeah, that was amazing. Like how many similarities there were. This guy Vinny Ocean, he had a strip club in New York. Lookers? No, not Lookers. Lookers was the one in New Jersey. Anyway, it was just like Tony's, and they hung out at this meat shop in the front, just like in
just like
Satrielli's or whatever it's called, Satrielli's, and it was like everything like you can hear them. Their car is bugged in the documentary. You can hear them in their car talking about The Sopranos, saying, "Dude, what the fuck is this shit supposed to be? Oh, it's on here." Yeah, it's pretty funny.
That's awesome. I'm definitely gonna check. I love The Sopranos.
Those would be some good starts if you already like that. Then watch the nonfiction version. Yeah.
Okay. That's gonna be my next step because I want to go back and watch Sopranos again, anyways, too. So
yeah, it's so good. Yeah, every several years I go through, but it's a commitment.
It is a commitment, but oh man, it pays off. My buddy always watches and makes references. So. Okay, so I figured too, with us talking about the movies and gangsters and everything like that, our loose wrestling topic this week involves celebrities in wrestling, and obviously with Big Bunny has been the big highlight. They just had the Puerto Rico show, Backlash, everything like that. Have you gotten to kind of check out Bad Bunny at all from a wrestling standpoint, like any of his work and certain things like that when it comes to it? And where would you kind of rank him in regards to like performance-wise with celebrity work, if you have seen a certain amount of his stuff?
Yeah, I really haven't, so I don't think that I would qualify for speaking on his performance. I've seen some of the hype about him.
Yeah.
And I know that people are really excited. Katie's really excited. I think she told me he's like the #1 musical artist.
Humongous.
So that's pretty big. It's a lot of exposure. When I was in the competitive state of mind, which I'm not, to 99% not now anyway. None of us aren't partially. We'll talk about that later. But I used to hate when outsiders would come in because I always felt like I was shorted anyway. There was always a way for me to feel like I'm not getting, what my flowers or even what I deserve.
Utilizing me rather than an outsider kind of coming in.
Why are the Bud Light girls in here wrestling and you bump me off the card? The Miller Lite girls or whatever. And I always felt like that. And also, because of my old school fundamental perspective of wrestling, I think that when you bring in actors that really you're making it seem easy, it seemed like anybody could do it.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think that's actually changed the business because the people that believed, the agent from Entourage can do a crossbody and knock a wrestler down. Sure. The people that would believe that are now like running the business. So it's kind of like more become that. And so that's something that's a little struggle with me. But I don't resist it. I do. My preferences resist it, but at the same time, I acknowledge that that's what's happening. But I would have, been instructed back in the day if there was, like, let's say when ICP was there, Insane Clown Posse, we beat the shit out of them, and that was for the business. We thought that they. We didn't want everyone to think that, because I didn't kick them harder than I kick other wrestlers.
Sure, yeah.
I get it. And I definitely didn't mean to bust Joe Bruce's eardrum. He wrote in his book about that I busted his eardrum, and he thought that I would have taken it easy on him. But that's not how we got taught wrestling, from the Sheik. And it was about protecting the business. That was the #1 rule. And that's always going to be in the forefront of my mind. So that forms my perspective, my opinions on everything. I would have beat the shit out of Bad Bunny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I realize now, looking at the whole thing overall as a big show and delivering the biggest show that you can to the fans, you can add a lot of bells and whistles to it, and it might improve it for that purpose. But being one of those competitors in there and feeling like your seat got bumped because someone else is at the table that
isn't usually there, and like it's a matter.
Hard to swallow sometimes.
Right. No, it's definitely that balance too, because you see somebody come in, it's just like, oh my god. Like, I mean, I always revert back to like Drew Carey coming out in the Royal Rumble that one year and stuff like that. He's like,
Yeah.
okay, it's a celebrity moment, but you're taking it away, and it's just like kind of a throwaway moment too. People don't really think about that moment anymore.
Yeah.
But to the other point too, what you're saying, like, it's like, oh, you kind of see it from the outside when you're not in the non-competitive standpoint. Like Bad Bunny, like having take place in Puerto Rico, his hometown. He was a huge wrestling fan growing up, super big. Apparently, he trains really hard backstage. But then, on accordance to that too, you have somebody like Damian Priest, who's trying to get over still and still trying to make a name. He's kind of building Bad Bunny up, but building himself up too and building his identity. So there's a certain kind of like, good fine-tuned balance of it all. But from the old skin mentality, it makes perfect sense. It's just like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like,
there's also 50 wrestlers that are waiting for their time to come up, that are pissed at what the focus and money and everything that they're spending on Bad Bunny, because that's not the traditional way. You know what I mean? Wrestling is still a lot about tradition. There's still that hierarchy, not nearly as much as there used to be. You know what I mean? But like when we were talking about it with the Mafia, there's a lot of similarities. When I joined, I committed to a secret society. I didn't make it above, a dying family member, but then again, I do remember missing my grandma's funeral to go to a wrestling show, and it's like, and I wanted it more than anything, and it was my priority, and that's what got me where I got. And you couldn't get ahead without having that, so later in life, reprogramming myself as an adult, which I recommend everybody should do, take another look at life from a different perspective, and often you should always be on improve mode.
I like that.
When looking back at it, there's so many similarities though, and did we talk about this last week?
Oh, we talked about not similarities with the Mafia and wrestling or a hierarchy.
Okay. Maybe it was in the car, but I was saying there was like 24 or 26 back in the independent territories. I think there was 26 territories, and I think there was 26 or 24 Mafia families across the nation. The syndicate. They all paid up to the umbrella, and they ran all the arenas. Not to mention there's been some mobsters that did wrestle. Bravo was killed by a mobster. There's like so much. I think there's like a whole mini series of just doing wrestling and the mob and putting together the stories. But most any entertainer that's been in the entertainment industry since, especially the 50s or before, they most likely had to deal with, some shady characters because they ran everything.
Right. They totally did.
Yeah.
Boxing too, and like that's what's kind of funny too. My brother does the Jake the Snake podcast, and they were talking about like how Jake didn't want to take a fall for like Muhammad Ali even, and certain things like that. Like a legitimate fighter that could legit knock people out, and the legendary Muhammad Ali, like holy shit, there's that level of like protection kind of thing. Now,
because I can get it though. I can see where Jake could be like, he's a badass fighter. He'd kick my ass on the street. What's that got to do with Jake the Snake being in the ring? Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, so
Frankie Carbo ran boxing for the mob back in the day, and Pinky Palermo. They were the two mobsters. They get all the credit for all the Sonny Liston and all those fights back in the day. They ran like all that shit. They were the guys you had to go to get matches and stuff. So
shit, that's another one I'm going to deep dive into because I'm getting fascinated in boxing right now too. So
Frankie Carbo, remember that he was out here in Cali too, and he ran with the Killing Squad. What the fuck they call themselves? Bugsy Siegel was part of them. Matter of fact, Frankie Carbo might have killed Bugsy Siegel. He's one of it. It's an unsolved mystery, but he gets credit for killing him because he killed Harry Green right before that.
Is that the guy Mo Green was based off of where they shot the eye?
The fuck are they called? I'm trying to think of what they were called. They were a bunch of fucking, what were they called? Abe Ellis fucking flipped on them and they all, I don't know. It'll come to me. But there was a murder squad where they would take money and go all around the country or whatever, and sometimes maybe even around the world, depending on what stories you believe, and just fucking kill for the money. Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
Well, so what I was gonna ask you too is like with celebrities in wrestling, yeah, you don't seem like the type of guy that would get starstruck. Really, was there anybody that was like, oh, that's pretty fucking neat? I'm either sharing backstage or like a segment with, or anybody. Is there somebody that's really stood out to you that you're just like, oh wow, that's somebody that kind of knocked me on my heels a little bit?
We mentioned Mike Tyson. You know, I
Mhm.
marked out it meeting him. That was at a cannabis convention out here
Yeah,
because he has his own line, you know, with the redwoods, and uh, we were both at a convention and he had a big line of people, but Dennis Rodman was with him, and Dennis is a friend. So, you know, I said hi to Dennis. Dennis was like, "Hey, you want to say hi to Mike?" I was like, "Fuck yeah!" You know, me and Katie were both there, and he was really cool. He acted like he was he didn't say I'm a big fan of yours, but he acted like it when he was like, "Dennis, hey, this is Rob Van Dam." Oh yeah, yeah, you know, and he was just like, his energy was really awesome, and that's a guy that, you know, I really want to keep as I don't know if I can say a hero, but from a certain, you know, from a certain perspective.
admired for his like work and what he's done, like kind of thing is.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like what a standout guy. I mean, the guy bit the ear off of another boxer, and they couldn't get rid of him. They couldn't expel him because the city made so much money off of him. They couldn't afford to lose him. All they could do was slap him on his wrist and suspend him like till his next fight anyway, or something like that. That's a fucking serious draw. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's power. You know what I mean? Like,
That's real draw
fans
power,
don't,
right?
yeah, fans don't get that when they put two people. Who would win, this guy against that guy? But when you think about it, that motherfucker is an icon of worldwide society. You know what I mean? Like, he draws money for cities on his own when he comes in to such a huge degree that it's all, you know, it's almost like he should be on a different level. It seems like of human. You know, like, okay, you made it, dude. Don't let anybody piss you off, man. Don't argue with people, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
don't give them no time of day. Come on, Mike. You're Mike Tyson.
Right. And no, it's like, hey, he's a big factor for like the Attitude Era really kicking off too with Stone Cold and Vince and all that stuff. It's just like, and he was a big wrestling fan growing up, loved Bruno Sammartino, all that stuff. So
Yeah,
has
super
all
cool.
those ties. So no, that's pretty sweet. All right, Rob. I think you know what? It's time for the segment that everybody likes. It's RVDology.
Yay!
Yeah.
All right,
Here's the little graphic we'll throw up. But
all
then,
right.
Rob. Yeah.
Sparking up my doobie here. Cool. So this is what I want to talk about today. A lot of people that are watching this might be surprised if I say that I think you have a big ego. A lot of you might say, you don't know me. But when you really break it down and think about it, the ego is the self reflection of one's own value. And that's based on our pride, right? Is pride a good thing or a bad thing? Because, like, you're grown up, you're brought up to have pride, right? Like when you're in school, you know, be proud of who you are, be proud of your family, be proud of your heritage. It never stops, though. You know what I mean? You're proud of your hometown. Anytime a celebrity is on TV in any field and they mention your hometown, you're going to go, whoa. Why? Because you have this instilled in you that you're proud. Why are you proud of that town in particular? Is it really even one of the top 50 towns that that you've even been in or wanted to visit? But the thing is, like, it never stops. So on an automatic level, I always talk about basic thinkers. Basic thinkers, which I think is the majority of people, can only think from the first person. So only what happens to them and what they're doing, how everything affects them, and they don't think past that. If you go in deep enough, your pride comes out anytime that your own value is being questioned. Anytime that you're in danger, the first thing to protect you is your pride. You know, as an example, sometimes we stick up for ourselves and want to be right so bad we don't even think about whether we're wrong or not. Dude, you're in my way. Fuck you, man. I was standing here first. Like, you don't even start to think about it. Your first thing is, hey, somebody's fucking with me and my potential value. Definitely my pride, because I'm going to think less of me maybe if this person is right about what he's saying. And it could be like, hey, you know what? You're ugly. Fuck you. I'm not ugly. You're ugly. You're fat. No, fuck you. You're fat. It's something natural. And a lot of people don't think about it, but it's something that I break down in RV Theology, because I think that it could help to keep that in check and to keep aware of that, because you'll notice certain people come across as ignorant because of that, because they just, first thing is like, fuck you. Sabu one time was in my house in California. And he used to sleepwalk all the time.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of the night, it was like 2 a.m. or something. I came out because he just check on him, I guess. He'd been sleeping on the couch and he was walking. And I saw him get up and I saw him walking, and I was pissing myself laughing. It was the funniest thing I'd ever seen, because his eyes are closed and he just keeps like going and he's moving forward. And I was seriously like having a hard time breathing. I thought it was the funniest thing. I'm like, where the fuck does he think he's going? He doesn't even know my house. I mean, it's not something that he's super familiar with. He don't live here.
Right.
And eventually he's going to corner himself and it's going to be in the kitchen, and he's going towards there, and I'm laughing. He corners himself and he hits the counter intersection there where the coffee pot is, and his eyes open up, and I'm like, Sabu, the fuck are you doing? The first thing he says, I was going to get some coffee. It's instinctive.
Yeah.
It's instinctive. You want to protect yourself. But what if you had the brain power to override that and actually use common sense instead of thinking, I always got to protect this image of myself, Like, what if somebody was able to say, dude, you're probably like the slowest one here, instead of saying, dude, I'm not the slowest one here. What if you actually listened and was like, and you actually thought about it? Am I the slowest one here? Maybe I am. Or maybe that person might be slower than me. I might be the third slowest person here. I don't know. But why is that not even considered? Because first, emotion kicks in. Boom. You cover up. You're like, fuck you. You're the slowest person in here. And I always say emotions get in the way of logic. Just like sugar gets in the way of fat burning. Your body will go to sugar first if it's there, and it'll take over. And then it gets used to burning sugar instead of burning fat. So if you have sugar in your blood, then you're going to have a hard time getting rid of the fat. Same thing with emotions. When you're emotional, it's so hard to think logically, because common sense isn't so common because of your pride. It gets in the way. It fucks everything up. You're hurt. You want to hurt back instantly. Boom. Is that a smart way to get ahead? I don't think so. With wrestlers, I don't know if you notice or not, every wrestler promo is about an ego. I'm the toughest guy in the world. I'm the champion. Nobody's going to beat me. You know why? Because I'm here to stay. Because I've got the best skills in this area, and I can do a lot of this. And you don't know it, but I even can do this. That's why, for a while, you're going to have to get used to seeing me. Every promo is like, I believe in myself so much that I want to try to get you to believe in me as well. But first, you got to believe that I believe in me, and I got to be convincing. I'll use the stripper analogy again, okay? I learned years ago, strippers can be a lot of fun. They got to learn to leave the gimmick at the club and not take it home. Same thing with wrestlers. If you can go out there and you can be the baddest motherfucker, that's cool. But if you're at home and you still carry that same ego, that same perspective, like, who are you to say that you're really the best? Isn't the best an opinion? But people don't think about this. They don't back up a little bit and grab hold of it and own it. They don't. I heard Undertaker talking about how he had the best match on the card this one time, and it was so important to him to really have the best match, and he did. Well, at least one of the two best matches. What if someone disagrees with you? What is it in your head that tells you that, according to your values, you had the best match, or at least one of the two best matches? What if some of the fans say, no, I really like the Too Cold Scorpio match better? How can you say that about yourself? Me being the passive RVDologist that I am, being Zenful, having my perspective, I have to question all opinions because that's all that they are. They're not facts. You know, think about this: you're behind the wheel of your car, and you're in traffic, and somebody honks at you, beep. That pisses people off so bad. A lot of people automatically, fuck you. You want to flip them off or you want to honk back, you know? Like you're honking because the light turned green. They don't think you moved quick enough. Man, that is so easy to get so pissed. And but you know, what if they're just honking because they want you to go? How about you just go? But no, first you got to get defensive. You know, who the fuck are they to honk at me? I'm in charge of when this car goes, how fast it goes. You know, that's an example of a switch inside that if we override and it changes our perspective and we can look at everything different, it helps us see everything as energy. And once you can do that, you can be able to draw yourself towards more positive energy and also avoid more negative energy. Just don't associate with it. You know, if it's around and it's clinging on, don't let it. If it's with you, deal with it. You know, try to not be as negative. Something else, I've said this a long time ago. If someone does an interview, they could say that they don't like me. That doesn't have to change my opinion of them. Barbie!
That worked.
Maybe. If I say I like somebody, say I like Kevin Nash, I think he's a cool dude, and then this was years ago, 2010 or something, and then he tweeted out something bashing me and Jeff Hardy, like, well, if they're such rock stars, then why are they drawing 1,000 people a night when NWO sold out the big arenas across the country and something like that? And it was kind of funny, but then I was like, that doesn't change my opinion, you know, like. Automatically, if someone says they don't like you, well, then fuck him. He's talking shit about me. Why does it have to be talking shit if they're just giving their opinion? And it could be that they don't like you, or it could be even less personal. It could just be, you know, there was something of Disco Inferno and Conan on their show. There was a headline that was going around, and I didn't listen to the show, but the headline said one of them had said RVD wouldn't be able to hang or wouldn't fit with AEW, something like that. And then Katie, you know, thinking basically is like, I thought those were your bros, man. They're talking shit about you. Fuck them, right? And then I was like, why? I mean, they can think that I wouldn't fit in AEW, and how's that going to change my opinion of them just because they think that? Whether they're right or wrong, you know, without even thinking about what the reasons could be, you know. Like it could be, maybe they're saying I couldn't hang because I'm out of shape. I couldn't physically. Probably not saying that. Maybe they're saying I wouldn't deal with the politics and shit. Maybe they're saying that. Maybe they're saying I'd be too stiff and it would like cause a lot of, who knows? But without knowing any of it, if they want to say, here's what I think about how RVD would be in position of general manager on Raw, and they give their opinion, why's that going to change my opinion of them? My opinion of them is based on, you know, all of my interactions with them. So people automatically want to draw back and get defensive. And I think it's primal. It's such a basic concept in practice, and something that really, I think, just like with most things, just your awareness will allow you to override it. Work on your awareness, try to be more aware, pick it out, and then boom, you know, before you know it, you'll feel above it. So that's the thing. A lot of you, I think your ego is just too big for you to be a master at RVDology. It might work perfect for you, but to be the Zen master, you got to be aware when your ego or your pride is making the decisions for you. You just have to.
Rob, dude, it's so neat that you actually mentioned that, because it's like this week I started like a Substack, which is like, people read you post your articles and stuff on there, and so I have a whole bunch of email subscriptions that are on there, a lot of colleagues and stuff like that, and I got an email like this week, and this person was just like, "This is the second time I've emailed you. Please remove my email from your list, or I will like get a hold of the federal government and like good press charges. Like my emails is this." I immediately fucking put my fist up and I was like, "Fuck you, you asshole!" Like I thought that immediately,
Yeah.
and then I was just like, and to your point from last week, it's a values. His values might be different than mine. I am like kind of like, all right, well,
did that really go through your mind?
It did, yeah. Well,
Awesome.
after the fact. So,
right.
But so I was just like thinking, oh man, and then to this point, my pride got the better of me, and thinking like, oh, this asshole doesn't want to read my stuff, or he's taking offense and thinking that I'm doing this to just be like a pain in the ass or whatever.
He doesn't have the same values as you, so it's offensive.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And my fist immediately gone up. So it's just like right off the, like, it's just like, boom, you gotta think a little. Yeah. If you take that step away, be like, all right, this is not necessarily what my ego is in the way here. And it's just,
that action, or rather reaction, can be summed up in a phrase that I totally don't live by. A lot of people watching might live by this. For me, it's very non-conducive with my ways. But you've probably heard this expression, an eye for an eye.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
No.
Those
people are vindictive. Those people are Karens. People that are like that. Those are the people that are like, well, she's keeping me up all night, with her loud parties. I'm gonna go out and scratch the side of her car door.
Right.
Like that's what that translates to me. Rise above, to quote the philosopher John Cena. I'm more to recommend you apply that. Why lower yourself to somebody else, and let karma do it. It's not easy, but that's who fights the battles is karma. Nobody gets away from karma. So that's, a whole nother subject. But, sometimes you feel like you owe somebody because, they got you really good. And maybe you do. And if life presents organically the opportunity, then it will. But then that's part of karma. Whether you know about it or not, you both will be paid back with karma. And that's why it's good motivation to live a good life.
Exactly. And like life will pan out and people will learn their lessons or they won't. It's just how that goes,
Yeah.
So, all right.
Someone could tell me, that shirt's stupid. And I'm not going to be like, it is not, man. Fuck you. Your shirt's stupid. Like, that's so, it's such I use the word primal, but it really is. It's like something that's, and what about like, oh, you don't like this shirt? Well, fuck it. I don't care. I'll throw it away. If it's Katie, I throw shirts all the way. If I'm like, oh, you don't like it, then I don't like it. I don't give a shit,
Yeah,
but
right?
People get defensive over the stupidest things. And it's because they don't reprogram themselves from their instinctive nature. And so maybe some of this articulation hopefully will help with that.
I'm learning, Rob. I'm learning. I'm cool.
Nobody else. I'm setting you straight.
You're setting me straight. I've got my focus on, and I'm looking forward, man. All right. So, what can people learn about you? How do they get it? If they want to get a hold of RVD, we're going to do an Ask RVD. So #AskRVD. Hit us up on social media. Let us know what you think. Ask us some questions. I'll read them to Rob. He'll answer them. Rob, how else can they get a hold of you? You got a Cameo going? You got some shop going? What's happening?
Oh my God, dude. I just got this message 2 days ago from Cameo. It said I was in the top 10. I don't know what it meant, but it felt good. And I had my number really built up. So you get all these requests and you get so much time on each one. And because of the way that my mind processes. I'm a last minute person on everything to the utmost extreme.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure I'd be very hard to be with for a lot of people because of that. I can't leave for the airport until there's almost no chance I'm going to make it. And it's like, that never changes. I don't do it on purpose, but for some reason, that's how I deal with time. So anyway, you get like 7 days, man. I'm always getting it when it's like, okay, you got 20 minutes left, your camera is going to expire, and then I'm always like, okay, now I feel the pressure, because before it's like, oh, I got 2 hours. Okay, yeah, I'll remember to do it after this, and then it gives me another mess. Yeah, man, I think I was in the 70s, 74 or something in a row, which was great. And it said you're in the top 10, and then I nailed another one, and then it said I was like number 4, and I'm like, I don't know if that means like that I got that many in a row without missing one or what, but either way, man, that's great to know. I'm fucking kicking ass. And then I went to bed the other night and didn't know that I was going to bed. I thought that I was just laying down for a minute.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot, and because I work all different hours, stupid, crazy. And anyway, I woke up to, oh no, I'm back at 0 again. Back at 0. It took me like probably at least a year.
Damn it.
Year and a half maybe. But anyway, I'm at the Real RVD everywhere. So that's and robvanm.com, which I got to pay more attention to, but that's one of the places that I try and put all the posters up in case you miss them on social media for stuff I got coming up, and got fan conventions and matches coming up. But I'll keep you posted as we get closer to it.
Cool, man. As far as this, if you guys are watching this, this is the Premiere Network, and this is where you can only get the full episodes of One of a Kind, the video version. So, this will drop every Friday at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, while our podcast, the audio version of it, will drop every Monday, Mr. Monday Night, at 4:20 p.m. So, tune in for that every Monday. If you're interested in Premiere Streaming Network, just go to premierstreamingnetwork.com. You can get all the info there. There's Ted DiBiase's podcast. They have a whole lot of different sports and entertainment stuff that you can check out, and it's a growing network. We're proud to be a part of it, and looking forward to growing with them. So, and as far as anything else, follow the podcast. Oh, go ahead, Rob. What do you got?
Well, I was just going to say, like on days when I'm not traveling or have bookings that are appearances, I just always stay busy. Like people, sometimes people want to know like what I do. And I'm always trying to move a million things ahead, but because of that, I don't get too stressed out about any one thing. But the next thing that I'm actually doing is Monday. Well, now who knows when this airs, but anyway,
Right.
In a few days. Well, I guess it'll be after this airs anyway, but Monday we're filming a Dark Side of the Ring episode. So cool that's coming back. I'm a fan of it, even though I know a lot of the boys are not.
Now, are you able to tell us what the episode's surrounded about, or do you got to keep that under wraps?
Well, I should probably just say I'm not saying that it's not about Sandman.
There we go. I like that. All right. Leaves it up to the imagination.
They'll probably ask me a few other questions and that's how a lot of them go. When I did Eddie Guerrero's autopsy show, and they asked me a few questions, and they ended up airing on I was on Piper's, I believe, and on I think someone else's too. And it was strange that I was like the only wrestler on there because I didn't have that great a relationship with. I was the only wrestler I think on Eddie's. And I think on Piper's, but for whatever reason, though, they'll probably do that. They did that. They did that before, and that's usually part of production. Ask a few questions about other things too, just so they have them.
Just so they have something
that way we get more RVD spread out throughout the weeks.
It works out.
Ratings stay up.
It all works out. Cool. Yeah, you can follow me at Dominic D'Angelo. Hit my Substack app if you want. Wrestlingwriting.substack.com. I just do opinion pieces on there and stuff and post some of my old interviews that I've done. Otherwise, want to dedicate this episode here to Josh Odom. He worked for Premiere. He worked for ad-free shows. One of my colleagues, he passed away unexpectedly this week. Only 30, early 30s. He had a very driven, very amazing worker, great sense of humor. Just unexpectedly happened. So definitely want to dedicate
condolences.
Yes.
Condolences. Yeah.
So
I feel like somebody mentioned him recently. I'm trying to think of who it was. I was talking about the podcast, and I had said, it's going to be on Premiere, and they mentioned Josh, somebody, and that they knew him and was a good guy or something.
Yeah, he was great, and like big fan of wrestling, super passionate. He got to do a lot of cool stuff, and it's just a shame that we lost him so early. It's at such a young age too. If you guys look on social media, my social media, there's a GoFundMe going on for him, for his family and everything. So if you're able to contribute, that'd be great. If not, send some love for him. So, but cool, Rob. This has been another fun one in the books. We'll cover a lot more other stuff coming up here in the weeks to come. But thank you for taking the time to do it. And hey, you want to close it out with goodbye or anything?
Hey, keep your pride in check. I'm not saying don't be proud, but you got to draw a line somewhere. Otherwise, you're a narcissist, and you're trained that way. You're trained to believe like, man, I can do this. If anybody can, man, I'm going to beat everyone. You're trained that way, but for me, my passive views are, it's one thing to know things inside, and it's another thing to have to prove it, So experience is the best teacher. We learn from our experience, or we learn from others people's experience. I had enough experience testing myself in enough ways to get a pretty good idea of comfortability in situations where I can be a little more passive and feel that it feel good about it afterwards. The pride will check me.
Yeah.
Dude, you just backed out from that. What the fuck? He's gonna think you're. Sometimes it's like, dude, would it have been better if we would have fought? No, So, fucking reprogram yourself. Do it by watching us here every week.
Absolutely. Hey guys, that's exactly it too. What will make you right here. It's RVD. Thanks, Rob.
See you next week.